foremost, the youth have heard this before as we've been going through a study we just started called The Anatomy of a Disciple. And in it, the host says, you cannot lead someone where you yourself have never been. Imagine for a moment I'm asked to train someone on how to wire a house for all its electrical needs. Just think about that for a moment. What could possibly go wrong? Well, as a matter of fact, a lot of things probably could and would go wrong because I myself am not a trained electrician. The same can be said for discipleship. If I am to impart knowledge to someone, I better be pretty learned in the subject matter. It is for that reason that Jesus' disciples spent every day for 3 years following him around and absorbing everything that they could. Jesus knew his time would come to an end, and his disciples would have to take over the reins, so he needed them to be prepared. I think it's for that same reason that Jesus scolded Martha over her frequent busy work and indicated that Mary had chosen the more important thing to give her attention. We like to be busy in this culture, don't we? It's almost a badge of honor to appear to have so much going on that when someone asks us to do something, we say, well, I'll have to squeeze you in my schedule. And if that happens to Jesus, how can we expect our discipleship to really flourish when he isn't a priority? That isn't to say we won't have times when life gets a little hectic. Sure, it happens. But we should still be cognizant of our time with God being the priority. The second part of the Great Commission I think a lot of us sometimes overlook, myself included, is when Jesus reminds us to teach others to obey the word. Now that requires we share the word, because others won't know what they are supposed to obey if they never hear it. This can take many forms, and obviously not all of us are comfortable simply approaching others and talking about it. However, we can still be invitational in our approach to bring others to the word in the various functions we have. Along with that, when we display the gospel through our interactions with others, that can have a profound impact later on. I spent a year on the debate team in high school. Can you believe that? This meant traveling to other schools, meeting lots of students from those other schools, and ultimately spending time together before and after the debates actually happened. One young lady in particular I built a deep friendship with, and we still stay in touch from time to time. Now, Nicole has a rough story and a rough past, but she shared with me later in our friendship that what initially drew her to want to be friends with me in the first place was the joy and energy that I had around others that she desired to be around. That energy, she realized and shared with me later on, she knew came from my faith. Now, I don't share this story to say, look at the good stuff I did or look at how great I was in high school, because I really wasn't. I never spoke a word of my faith to her, even when we first met. My faith spoke on its own, simply by the way I treated other people. In the first part of our scripture today, we saw women who found the empty tomb sharing the good news that Jesus had in fact risen from the dead. That was exciting and profoundly life-changing news. It was not something they were about to keep to themselves after witnessing such a thing. What would it be like if we were to trip over ourselves every Sunday to go share the gospel with someone down the street from us? Now, the final part of the Great Commission is all about math. And I already know there's some of you squirming saying, ooh, he said that word. I hated math in high school. I could do it, but I hated it. Discipleship is all about multiplication. You see, you start with one person who disciples 3 people, who then ultimately disciple 3 more people each, who ultimately then also disciple 3 more people. And what you see is one disciple turns into 3 disciples, or turns out 3 disciples, who then turn out 9 disciples, who then turn out 27 disciples, who then turn out 81 disciples, who then turn out 163 disciples. You can see how those numbers continue to grow exponentially larger over time as they continue to pour out and bless new people with the word, who then draw from that and turn into disciples themselves. It's for that reason we saw in the very early years of the church, when Peter and Paul were making their way and spreading the gospel from this tiny little corner of the world, the explosive growth of discipleship. Now, that covers our what. But how about why? Why is it we even do it in the first place? Well, we can start with the fact that Jesus said to. But it's more than that. Why does Jesus' words have any power over us whatsoever? To start looking at that, I want to show you a video. Now, we saw this video at the annual conference last year, and it really touched me, and it's stuck with me ever since. And it's recently that I found why it stuck with me. And it's for this very reason. So I'm going to ask Spencer to switch us over to that video, and we're going to watch this video here from a man named Michael Jr., who goes around sharing the gospel through motivational speaking and comedy and a number of other things.
How do I know? A lot of people, when they think of the phrase, how do I know, they always want to put the what behind it. How do I know what I'm supposed to do? The question that you really should ask is, how do I know why I'm here? Because when you know your why, your what becomes more clear and more impactful. If you know, like for instance, people know that I do comedy, but that's what I do. My why is to inspire people to walk in purpose. So I can do comedy, I can write books, I can be in a movie, because all of it is motivated by my why. In fact, I have a new web series out called Michael Jr. Break Time. We probably just did the 6th episode. It's on YouTube. So every single Wednesday at 3 o'clock, we drop a new episode on YouTube of Michael Jr. Break Time. What it is it's me. I travel around the country, and I do stand-up comedy, in case you didn't know. And in the middle of my comedy set sometime, I'll stop and just talk to my audience. And we've been filming this, and it's pretty cool. So we're in Winston-Salem. I'm going to show you a clip from Winston-Salem. And I'm just talking to this guy in the audience, and he tells me that he's a musical instructor at a school. So I was like, all right, you're a musical instructor. Can you sing? Let me hear you sing a song. So this is what happened at the last episode of Michael Jr.'s Break Time. Check it. So you're a musical director. Cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me get a couple bars of like Amazing Grace. Can you do the first part of that? Go ahead.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Wow. That bro could sing, you know what I'm saying? All right. Now, what you give me the version is if your uncle just got out of jail, you got shot in the back when you was a kid. I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick, if you know which version I'm talking about. Just see if that exists. Let me see what you got.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I see.
Okay, here's what I want you to catch. The first time I asked him to sing, he knew what he was doing. The second time, he knew why he was doing it. When you know your why, your what becomes more impactful because you're walking towards or in your purpose.
Can anyone sing that? The first time I saw that, I was blown away. There's something powerful about gospel style, as he calls it, the hood version of classic hymns. They're sung with a more purposeful meaning behind them a lot of times. So what is our why, church? Why do we do what we do? Well, it all comes back to a word we hear often and we see often: love. It all comes back to that agape love, that self-sacrificial love that God himself displayed in John 3:16. For God so loved the world with an agape love, that he would be willing to send his son to suffer and die and rise again for us, just so that there might be a chance that we might come back to him. You see, when you experience that kind of love, it fills us to overflowing. See how I did that? And when that overflowing happens, the incarnation of God within us, God's Spirit within us, wells to overflowing. The natural impact is to affect those around us. And when they get a taste of that kind of love, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to want more. They're going to want to know, why do you show this kind of love when you have no reason to? And we can tell them we have a reason, and his name is Jesus. Now that's a love I want to be a part of for the rest of my life and forever. How about you? Can you imagine if our love reflected even a fraction of the passion with which that man sang Amazing Grace? How would our church look different? How would our community look different? And how might that ripple effect cause a chain reaction that would cause others to really want to be a part of this whole Jesus thing? Church, let us not ever forget our why, so that our what never loses its power. Amen.